Crypto markets are pumping, and of course that is always really, really good news, but we haven't really seen the same thing happening with the Pi token, which is a little bit confusing. And so I want to talk a little bit about why that could actually be. So we're going to be talking about that in this episode, where we're going to be going over the Pi token, what we've seen with kind of the overall alt market, what we've seen with the Pi token specifically, and why we may not be seeing exactly what we might have been hoping for from the Pi token. So anyway, let's go on ahead. We'll move on. We can take a look at the crypto bubbles, and we can see Pi actually down 2.2% today. Not terrible news, as I would say probably the majority of cryptos are actually down today. But what we haven't seen, or what we are seeing, which is why the day is still green, is we have a couple items that are still up very, very big. So we can see Monero up very, very huge. Pengu up almost 50%, Walrus up almost 20%, Core almost 10%, Fartcoin 16%, IOTA almost 10%, Bonk almost 10%. I mean, some pretty big gainers, but otherwise we haven't really seen too much going on in the market. We can see Bitcoin just barely green, Solana also decent-ishly green. And we can also see, XRP up about 5%. Virtual is also up about 5% as well. So things looking relatively good there. Now, if we do look at the week, obviously very, very, very green, and then month as well. Greens here, but we are still seeing some reds now and again, and we can actually see Pi, one of those that is actually down pretty heavily for the month. So we can see IP, I think this might be blocked by my picture, but we can see if I drag it up here. This is another one that's been doing somewhat roughly. ICP really has not seen the comeback that a lot of these alts have seen. There's a couple here and there that we're not really seeing really make that comeback, but I would say the majority of them, memes in particular, if you haven't noticed, with Bonk, with Brett, Fartcoin, Pengu, I mean, these are all kind of like the biggest winners. Trump and Floki even doing relatively well. And then virtuals, I think there's a world in which that there's a contingent of those AI agents, even though they're supposed to be, utility. I do think that there's a contingent of those that kind of operate in that same meme coin type of department. So I think it would make sense to include them in there as well. But overall, pretty great month so far. Not for Pi though. So we're going to be talking about why that could be. And I do think that there are a couple of reasons as to why it could be. So first off, let's take a look at the chart here, because the chart, we can see actually something pretty important just happened about a day or two ago. So what we had been seeing, actually, let's zoom out really far so we can see kind of everything that's been going on here. And we can see obviously went up really nicely, and then it's basically been down only since then. We saw that bottom hit kind of at the beginning of April, and since then we've kind of started to find a little bit of a bottom here and actually started to put a little bit of some upward momentum here, finding some higher highs, finding some higher lows, starting to kind of change that or kind of make that shift. But we have not actually seen that continue on, as we have broken through kind of this ascending trend line that we were working on, and now we've kind of broken through that and moving back down to the downside here. How low we go, really hard to say. I mean, if you can see here, there's not really an amazing place to be putting like a support level. It's probably a good place to put a support, maybe like in this range, possibly. Maybe there's another one we could put kind of down in this range. But those are probably, and then of course, we do obviously have kind of that like major low here. So there's a couple of different points, but as you can see, there's no real like too strong of a support at any one point in this on the chart here. So it's not really super clear to say, oh well, we're going to drop back to this range and then we'll bounce, or we'll drop back to this range and then we'll bounce. It's very, very hard to say. And so the fact that we have broken this ascending trend line, particularly while so many of the other alts have been doing quite well, is in fact a little bit concerning. So we do need to keep a very close eye on this and see what Pi is actually going to do. Now, of course, we did see Pi start to pump kind of in like February, March range, when a lot of the alts were getting crushed. So this could be kind of an interesting type of experience where, maybe Pi is kind of like a counter altcoin, right? It goes up when others go down, and it goes down when others go up. Really, really hard to say for sure. That would be pretty bizarre. But what we can see is, of course, things looking relatively rough for Pi. Top to bottom, we're probably looking, actually, let's just check it out real quick. But top to bottom, we can see we're probably down 80, 85% maybe. Yeah, it looks about 86%. So definitely a pretty brutal sell-off that we have seen here. Of course, with many of the other alts we have been seeing, we've seen 95% sell off. So there is the possibility that, we could be continuing to sell off, and a 90% sell off would get us down to about this 30-cent range. And a 95% sell off, if I remember correctly, would be about 20-ish cents. Let's just do this again and we can take a quick look here. It would get us to about 14 to 15 cents, which would really be quite rough. So definitely hoping that that is not the case and we don't see that. But just objectively speaking, from looking at the chart here, things do look a little bit rough. There's definitely better news that we could be having from the chart here on Pi. However, we have seen that the Pi core team has also released a video. I'm going to turn this off just so I don't blow out my eardrums. But we can see here that they've kind of released a little bit of this video talking about all of the things that they've been doing within their Pi like open network area. So we can see Pi's latest video showcases pioneers engaging with local commerce in the first Pi Fest after Open Network, highlighting the global and practical utility of Pi. Images were shared by pioneers on the Pi Fest channel in the Fireside Forum, Pi's Web3 social media app. With full support of the Open Network's external connectivity, continue engaging with local merchants that accept Pi. Really cool. We can see here that there's a bunch of like global influence here. As we can see, it is largely limited to Africa and Southeast Asia. So for anybody who might be American or from the West, potentially even from like Latin America, things like that, we're not really, we haven't seen much of this from a practical use application, which is potentially why we could be seeing a little bit of some weird like things going on with the price action, right? Because while of course it's clear to see that there are people actually using Pi and there are people in multiple different countries paying with Pi, a lot of the token holders sometimes for this, like for example, I know several people that have been mining Pi for years and they live in America, and so if they don't have that like kind of day-to-day context of what Pi is actually doing, it could be one of those things where it's like, oh well, I haven't seen it, so I'm going to sell it. And so this could be part of the difficult part that we do see from the Pi network, where we start to see Pi price sell off just because there's a lot of people who aren't actually seeing the day-to-day like practical utility of Pi. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that it's not there. It's just people don't see it. It's just classic information asymmetry is kind of what I would kind of chalk this up to. And so that's something that we also just need to be considerate of and aware of as we start to see price moving, is that there is that possibility that it's potentially just the Pi team and the Pi network not really being as visible to some of the holders, and so those holders are going to be selling while the ones who can see it are going to be buying. But there's going to be a period of time in which we need to see a little bit of that kind of flip-flopping happen. So anyway, as I mentioned before, if we go back and take a quick look at the Pi chart, we can see that I think that's a reason as to why we might be seeing some of this selling off happening. So hard to say for sure, right? I mean, we could technically be on a level of support right now, given the fact that we have not seen much price action from the Pi token. Could potentially be a good time to get in if you expect that the Pi token will eventually follow suit with a lot of the other altcoins. I personally do not have that same level of confidence right now, just because we haven't really seen Pi kind of establish a basis in terms of how it moves with altcoins quite yet. So that's not something that I'm particularly interested in taking the risk on right now. I do think that there's a lot of others that right now are, I think, look very attractive. I think the Virtuals coin is very attractive. I think a lot of the coins in the Virtuals ecosystem are attractive. I think there's a lot of other ones, Sui, Walrus. I mean, a lot of those have done some pretty impressive things. And so I think that Pi is one where we just need to wait. That doesn't mean it's a sell. It doesn't mean, it doesn't mean you should be dumping it all that type of stuff. Obviously, nothing that I say is financial advice. You do need to make your own decisions with a lot of that type of stuff. But I think a lot of what this means to me is we just got to wait and see. It's probably a hold. It's not a buy. It's not a sell. It's just a wait and see, and let's see what happens here. Now, of course, if we can hold this level of support, that would be a very good thing, because that in fact would probably indicate that we have seen the bottom come in, and now it's just going to be a matter of what does it look like kind of climbing back up, right? And so anyway, that is kind of what we're seeing with the Pi network today. If you are interested in trading Pi, We do have that on BTCC. BTCC has been a partner of the channel for a very, very long time. They do a great job. I actually love trading on BTCC. You can see I do actually have some positions open here. We do have XRP up about 181% right now. Not too bad at all. We've got Sui. Sui's done absolutely wonderfully, up about almost 240%. And we've got Ondo. This one's been kind of bouncing back and forth. It's up about 20% right now. It's up about 50 a couple days ago. And then we can see we do have that Bitcoin position here. Still down a little bit, but it's Bitcoin. I'm not particularly worried about that one at all. I have actually taken profits on all of these already and continue to kind of peel off bits and pieces here and there as price continues to move up. So that's something that I will, of course, continue to do. If you are interested, like I said, I do have all those links in the descriptions below. 10% deposit bonus for BTCC, which is a really, really good deal if that is something that you're interested in doing. Also, $10,055 of deposit bonuses if you do want to do that with BTC as well. Or BTCC, excuse me. They're really throwing a whole bunch of money at you. So I do also have links to WEEX and FMX in the descriptions below. I do have links to WEEX in the description as well. They're doing, I believe, $30,000 in deposit bonuses, but they do not have that guaranteed 10% deposit bonus. So tons of different options there. If you are interested in any of those, just feel free to check those out in the description below. So now, overall, that's pretty much what we've got to talk about today with regarding Pi. I think Pi overall, as I've mentioned, I have not seen it change fundamentally in terms of what they're trying to do. I do think, as we talked about in the last video, they did release their roadmap. The roadmap was, in fact, light on dates, which is never a good thing. Usually the roadmap, like kind of the main thing that you're looking for in a roadmap is dates and indications of when you actually plan to deliver things. So the kind of being light on dates is not awesome, but yeah, we're just working with what we've got, at least for right now. So overall, I mean, things are looking okay, I guess I should say, for Pi. Not amazing, but also not terrible. I think right now it's just kind of a wait and see type of thing. So hopefully you did find the information in this video useful. If you did, a like and a subscribe really, really do help me out. I'm continuing to, of course, try to grow the channel and provide more value and all this type of stuff on a daily basis. So if you are interested, a like and a subscribe really does help support me with all that type of thing. Also, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, just drop them in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of those. If you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a great way to do so. Also, I am going to be traveling this week. I am in Dubai right now for Token 2049. So if you are wanting to stay up to date on all of the things happening here in Token 2049, I will be trying to provide updates for those as well. So if you have anything that you want me, or if you're interested in seeing what's going on there, just feel free to like and subscribe and turn that notification bell on as well. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.